wanted to talk a bit about the frustration and exhaustion on this path of being resilient, you know, the path of knowing that we have um, these heartfelt desires and these legitimate human desires to live a life that is authentic, live a life where our needs are cared for, where we can actually feel rewards and feel like we are actually getting somewhere and we are changing things for the better, and we can have where we can have our hope in humanity and our hope in existence restored, where we can have our perspective changed and remember that life isn't just a horror show, that life isn't just we can remember things about ourselves that we've lost along the way. Sorry, I drank tea a few minutes ago and I realized I still had it on my lip. So, you know, this frustration is this sense for me that time is passing more slowly than I would like it, or this sense that time is passing but not much is happening, you know? This sense of impatience, this sense that for me, I do have my business, but the way that it was organized, I realized it actually isn't fulfilling for me. I had my dog care business, I had a bunch of clients, and then just like 2 weeks after having everything according to like how I had my goals set, I was like, oh, this is just exhausting. I'm not enjoying this. I don't feel like I'm connecting with the parts of me that matter. I feel like I am having a lot of there's a mismatch between what is authentic for me to offer that actually caters to my true strengths and limitations, and then the service I'm presenting myself to other people and the expectations that they have of me, realistically, that they have of me in this service, in the sense that I am just I'm like a manual labor based service, doing dog walks, doing offered training. I did one training course, a 2-week training course, but I wasn't able to find any other people for that, and I'm wanting to pursue that more still, but I'm feeling like in order for that to be my focus, not house sitting, not dog walks, in order for just training to be my focus, I'm setting this time aside to put a pause on those things and focus on resting and learning things related to rest, learning things related to what does it feel like and look like for me to rest my mind? What are the ways that influence me to make decisions, not make decisions? What are those sometimes subconscious thoughts that that just skew things for me, that have my focus be on anxiety and seeing myself as playing a very vulnerable, optionless role, or playing a role where my strengths are not what they actually are. I'm just taking a break to just let my mind melt and remember just how can I change that relationship to my own self so that I have it more habitual when I realize that my mind is running wild, or and I'm able to label it as such, or noticing when I am putting on a narrative of shame towards myself. I notice that this is a huge theme for me. I have a huge undercurrent of shame as just the default way that I understand myself in relation to the world, inform narratives about other people and about myself, and based on those narratives create strategies for myself. I think that this shame I have towards myself is preventing my shame for existing is preventing me from having it's obscuring the path, right? That authentic path for me that will allow me to find my dog care business to be sustainable and allow me to earn enough money that makes it feel worth it, and that will allow me to find clients where it actually feels rewarding to work with them. And this shame is also exhausting me and preventing my self-care and just keeping me focused on distractions like my phone game, like the internet, entertainment, TV, etc. Just keeping me in that loop so that my creative energy is drained, so that I'm not able to put it towards creating an ebook and really getting like feeling that inspiration, learning what is my particular perspective with dog training, how to put it into words. Because for me, like I I really love with dog training seeing it in the same kind of a echo of the way that we um, relate to our own selves, that those parts of ourselves, like seeing it with dogs, like working with dogs in the same way that we work with the parts of ourselves that are not doing what we want them to do, and being curious and learning how to help, how to make things happen, and how to have it be rewarding and feel safe for all involved. That is one of my values. And so but then there becomes all these other emotions tied to it that have to do with all of the horrible the horrible ways that I tend to, I start to develop an aversion, right, to this idea of the dog training, because I have it in my mind tied to these bad experiences I've had, trying to force myself to to make things happen in my dog care business, where I didn't realize how important it is to listen to my intuition, and I did let people treat me in ways I wasn't comfortable with, and like force myself to be silent and pretend I'm someone else with a different set of needs, until I just couldn't hold it in, and just kind of pretending and seeing myself as like dissociated from my actual needs, I guess. I was trying to get myself to act as though like I am a theoretical generic person, that I'm just like kind of watching things unfold, and I'm not really invested in the outcome. I'm not invested in my wellness. I'm not invested in my reality. I'm not invested in boundaries that are meant to protect me and make things sustainable for me, and in protecting myself, protecting other people, to also find something that is authentic for them. And I know that there is a lot of guilt that we tend to take on in life, right? That we see as just a normal part of life. These narratives that we are taught that are like, we have to feel shame and guilty to ourselves in order about ourselves in order to be a good person, or these narratives that like we have to like be like, oh, I fucked up, like I don't know, like these like Alcoholics Anonymous, or these like religious kind of teachings where you have to be like, yes, I fucked up, I'm so sorry, I repent. Like these kind of disgusting narratives that are scapegoaty and don't allow everybody to participate in realizing like we are all contributing to the same thing, and there's no like villains and innocent. Like there's everybody just kind of mistaken or confused and trying our best and learning. And I definitely come from a lineage. I've seen this in my mom's life of where I've seen it in my dad too, but of kind of villainizing ourselves in order to let other people feel okay, or in order to let other people be the good guys. Of being like, okay, well, someone has to play the villain and I don't want to be the bad person. So I don't want to be the bad person by like demonizing somebody. So I guess I'm going to make the sacrifice. I'm going to play the villain role. I'm going to hate myself and harm myself and discount all my efforts and see everything that I'm doing as like fucked up and shameful and embarrassing and all this stuff. And so that other people like just stop harassing me, or so that other people like think I'm a good person and stop harming me or something. And I've been down that road too many times that I should have known by now. But in my business the past couple months, like I did have, well, going back to past last September when I first started this, like I've had, goddamn, like when we create our businesses, it's really going to be that thing that shows you what, like, I don't want to sound stereotypical, but what parts of you need your love and need your attention so that you can have authentic, good feeling experiences, so that you're not selling yourself in the wrong way to people who aren't able to actually provide what you actually need. I've had to be learning, like, I have to actually be invested in who I actually am. I have to be real about my actual strengths and limitations. And I've seen now, like, okay, I can't force myself to do the manual labor thing. That's not going to work for me. I can't force myself to be house sitting. That's not going to work for me. These things where I have in my mind, like, you can do it. You can do it. Just force yourself. And I try to jazz myself up and think of, for the generic person, what are all the positive things of doing this? And I try to be like, oh, if only this and that, and I do this, then it'll be perfect. Like, of course it's sustainable. Thinking of all these things logically in my head, and then I did it. And then I was like, oh, wow, this is not what I thought it was. This is, takes away my joy of life, and I haven't even been earning much money anyway, because you can't really price yourself high. Like, you can't really, I mean, you can if you get your marketing right, and if you get your self-care right, and if you find clients who actually care about you as a human being, they're invested in you as an individual. You can price your services high for doing these labor-based jobs like dog walks, house sitting, drop-in visits. You can, but you have to find those right people. You have to have that inner journey with yourself to get to that point where it makes sense for you to charge that much, where you feel good about it, and where you can actually find the people who, or they can find you, the people who want to pay that much. Because otherwise the business model is more about quantity over quality of clients. Like, the business model is more like you charge low and you have a lot of people that are hopefully nearby. I was taking care of people that were across a toll bridge, that were like a far, like 20-minute drive, not located near me, because I just wanted this idea, like, oh, I have clients, I'm making money, I have things to do on a regular basis. I wanted kind of the validation or glory of I'm in the lifestyle. But then the actual reality was, ooh, it doesn't feel good. And yeah, so something that I'm a part of resting my mind, this idea of shame, right? This, to be resilient against this This shame perspective, I've really been noticing, like, because it fucks up my creative process, right? Like I can't be working on things and feeling good and feeling proud and feeling like I'm in touch with my authentic perspective and my like genius perspective, my that thing that is like I really need this. And so that means other people are going to really need it. And then this means it's like actually beautiful and helps add this feeling to people's lives and my own life that life is worth living, like I can't be doing all that if I'm caught up, distracted, weighed down by shame. And shame, shame is in assuming that whatever I'm doing, this is how it works in my life, assuming that whatever I am doing, there's always something that is like horrible about it, or that I always have to see myself as playing the villain role, or that I always have to think of myself as like, oh, I like everything I did is so embarrassing. Everything I did is so, um, like so mean, so evil, so wrong. Just all those villainizing things and seeing it as like, oh, I like looking all the time, my brain like analyzing all the time, like what are all the examples that prove that like I'm a bad, shameful person, or I'm inherently like just like trashy, like um worthless, like all those fun things that are like really cruel, and I mean sometimes kind of funny, like that is a defense mechanism against it, but it's just kind of these cruel things that are created to control in a aversive way, control through aversion, through aversive means. Uh, and you know, if if I'm using aversive means towards myself, um, I think it becomes abusive when I am averting myself from the things that I need to feel good, that I need in order to feel right, to be someone who can contribute to others, because we all can contribute in a way that is authentic for us. Like I know that there's a lot of talk about like anti-productivity, we like not being productive um as a form of resistance or whatever, but like inherently it is so beautiful and just a part of our humanity to be productive of positive things for other people. It's just, are we trying to force ourselves to produce things that aren't compatible for us or not? So like I very much want to be in that cycle of life where I am producing things of beauty for other people, but only when it also produces beauty for me. And you know, I mean, part of me is grateful that I know that it is a blessing that I'm even in this situation where I'm able to take the time and space to analyze all this and be like, I want to, um, realizing that bless me, like the warring between like myself and clients and what I offer compared to what it feels good. Like that's not something that I'm trying to have for myself. That's not something that is um, sustainable long term for people. And that is something that um, I'm working on figuring out in myself so that I can come across the business structure and the business processes and the business and just my life in general, the other parts of my life that aren't even related to business, or you know that it just makes it sustainable for me and I can have that firm foundation. That's what I'm really after, because that to me is what resilience is. It's that, well, it ties into it. You know, resilience is like, I'm taking everything as a learning experience, to figure out how to hold myself and to be strong in my authentic truth, and how to um, live a quality of life that makes it feel worth being alive, um, through taking risks and learning more about how to care for myself, more about what my needs are. And yeah, so those are some things I've been thinking about lately in relation to shame. Oh yeah, something. So the most important thing is, when I've been feeling shame, I've been thinking, for one, got to change the perspective around to be on my side at the very least. At the very least, I should be villainizing other people instead of myself. Allowing myself to do that and be like, I'm a human. It doesn't make me evil. It makes me able to hold space for evolving more down that road, instead of being stuck and just demonizing myself and harming myself, and then going into addictions and needing all this extra focus because I start causing problems. Um, but it's more about well, I forgot what I was just talking about, but it has to do with, yeah, I totally forgot what that was. I need like a sentence or something to read that shows me what I was talking about. But basically, oh yeah, yeah. There's two things we can do. Either it's necessary to rewrite my perspective about myself, the narrative that I'm structuring to be like, no, like I am, just to see the good qualities in what I'm doing, and to feel proud of the choices that I make, and this intention and the thoughtfulness that I use, and all of that. And then also acknowledging, but it still didn't have a good outcome. And part of me, maybe I can just not care about the outcome through finding other ways to increase joy in my life, so that I don't need so much like control and predictable outcomes in order to help me feel safe. Like I need to find other ways to help my brain chemistry feel safe and rewarded and stable through learning, remembering how to have fun, how to express myself with pride in general. Like, just how to have fun with being alive, with like how I present myself, with the things I do, with the places I go, with the ways that I chronicle and share all these experiences and all that. So I think that that's one thing to do when experiencing shame. And then the other thing is, lately I've just been telling myself, like, even in this, I'm sacred. Even in this, like, my perspective might be skewed right now, but just remember, even if I can't access it logically, remember, just like in my body, at least that feeling of safety, that like, and what, like, I am still good, like I'm still sacred and legitimate and valuable and necessary, even through this. Like, if I'm walking a dog, this is something that's happened to me recently, but like if I'm walking a dog and she, she's an odd one. Like she walks you. She doesn't want people to walk her. She walks you, and by that I mean sometimes she just like stops moving at all. You can try to get her with a treat. You can sit there, let her. I kind of think of her as an autistic dog, and I don't really even know what autism is, but that it's because she's the Basenji. She's the dog that's sleeping right here. She's really sweet, but she doesn't really communicate. the same as other dogs because she doesn't really bark, you know. She has a more subdued set of body language and mannerisms and ways of communicating. So it's like sometimes it's like all of a sudden it'll appear that she like blows up, so to speak, but she really just doesn't have the ways of expressing herself to start giving like little signals. Um, she doesn't have those normal ways that another dog would. Like a normal dog would be whining, or a normal dog would be like barking, or just showing signs of distress. You know, she doesn't do that. All of a sudden she'll just stop walking. She'll just stop, and she'll like, you try to go this way with her, you try to go that way, you stand still for a while and just let her like look around. You try to get a treat. Sometimes she'll follow you for the treat, but sometimes she doesn't. And you know, she's, and then you're not gonna pull her, like you're not gonna just like yank her and like drag her. And so then it becomes like, okay. So it just is like, okay, this is weird. So I've been having that with this dog, and I would feel shame. Like I'm supposed to be the dog trainer. I'm supposed to, all these people out here are judging me and thinking of me as like extremely inept, or like maybe that I'm abusing her or something, and she doesn't trust me, and that's why she's doing this. You know, that'll be in my head. And then I'll just be like, even in this, I'm sacred. You know, remember, like sometimes I can get really out of control in my emotions, in my imagination. Not emotions, but my imagination. Well, kind of my emotions, but where I'll start imagining like all the worst things people could be thinking about me. And I start almost like turning against myself because my subconscious is kind of seeing myself in that role, just because I'm worrying about what are the worst things other people could be thinking of me. You know, what are the worst possible outcomes or potential factors that could be going on, like that I'm abusive to the dog, or that I'm just like high and inept, like something like that. You know, the dog doesn't trust me. But anyway, I think it's really important to remember that even through all that, I can still stay in the moment. I am sacred. This moment is sacred. What I'm doing is sacred, and probably doesn't hurt to state in my mind logically like what is actually going on to combat those thoughts. Like, no, this dog is just a little bit she just needs a little bit of extra help that I haven't figured out what's going on yet. And I know it's like a long-term process with a dog like her. And I'm not really sure what things have been like with her parents. You know, if like maybe they did force her to do stuff, and so then she started having that bracing where she doesn't want to walk because she, you know, she feels like she can't trust, or she feels like unsafe in some way, so she just wants to observe. Not sure what's going on with that, but anyway, I don't want this to be too much longer. It's already really long, but yeah, those are some things related to shame and rest that I have been learning about lately as a foundation to helping me change, alter my services, and hopefully restore my creative energy in the next couple of months so that I can create my ebook without it feeling like this terrifying, like forceful panicky thing, you know, where I'm like, oh God, I have to force myself to do this so I can earn money as soon as possible. And then it doesn't feel enjoyable, you know? And maybe I won't write that for a year or two. Um, I am really not set on doing anything except for what feels authentic for me in the moment and what actually feels like, oh, I like doing this. This feels safe. I actually can. Like changing that perspective in my head, like, oh my God, I actually can just enjoy being alive and feel safe, and reestablishing that kind of relationship to myself. And we'll see what happens in the coming months, but I very much so am just trying to focus more on, you know, this foundation of changing the way I think towards myself, the way that the types of narratives I even have access to, expanding the narratives that are my options to interpret myself and other people, and trying to bring some joy back, trying to feel like, oh, my life is actually really cool just as it is, you know, and not feeling like I'm always losing out or that I'm like not there yet because I don't, you know, I'm not out of debt yet, I'm not earning enough money yet, I'm not living where I want to live yet, I don't have the physical health I want yet, all these things. Instead of being like, oh my God, my life is really cool exactly as it is now, and not looking past the beauty and privileges and joyful things that I have present in my life right now, and the options I have available to me that I might be discounting because I have marked it off in my head as frivolous or non-essential or too confusing because I'm so limited by my own shame-based thoughts that I have stopped doing so many things that I used to love when I was younger because it just started to feel like a burden to my mind to try to care about things. Um, anyway, that's what I wanted to share today. Thank you so much for listening, and best wishes.